my angels, it's Hailey Reese, and for today's video, I am extra excited because we are going to be diving into a haunted house or a haunted mansion slash historical site in San Diego that I have wanted to talk about for a very, very long time, and that is the Whaley house. According to the travel channels, America's Most Haunted, the Whaley house is the #1 most haunted house in the United States. So I thought for today's video, why not dive into the history of the Whaley house, how it came to be, and what particular spirits are said to haunt it now. So without further ado, let's just dive right on into everything and anything to do with the Whaley house, because there are so many details surrounding this haunting and the history of the home that I don't want to miss a thing. So the site of where the Whaley house would eventually be built had a very tragic beginning. The property was actually the site of the town's most famous executions, public executions at that. In fact, one of the earliest documented spirits at the Whaley house is that of Yankee Jim. James, aka Santiago Robinson, was convicted of attempted grand larceny in San Diego in 1852. He was then hanged on the site of what would later become the Whaley house. In 1855, a man by the name of Thomas Whaley bought the property and began building his family home on the land, despite having been a spectator of the execution. So he was very much aware of the history of the property prior to purchasing it and building his family home on top of it. I definitely cannot say that if I witnessed an execution, which I would absolutely never want to witness, but had I of, that I would jump on the opportunity to purchase the land of which the execution was held, but that's exactly what Thomas Whaley did. Thomas Whaley and his wife Anna Whaley would move into the home in 1857 and would live there with their 3 children, Francis Hinton, Thomas Jr., and Anna Amelia. Now, once the couple moved in, the family began realizing that there was very heavy footsteps often present that weren't due to any of them. Thomas actually described it as hearing the sounds of boots of an old man, or a grown man at that. Maybe he actually said large man. Regardless, you get the imagery. Finally, he came to the conclusion that these footsteps must be due to the execution and the spirit of Yankee Jim Robinson. Now, it wasn't long after the Whaley family moved into their newly built brick home that they began experiencing death and despair. I should note though that shortly after moving in, Thomas Whaley would actually open up a general store there as well. Unfortunately, at the young age of 18 months, Thomas Jr. would pass away from scarlet fever within the home. And even more devastating, although nothing is more devastating than the loss of a child, shortly after that, Thomas's convenience store would burn down due to arson. After such tragic events, the now family of 4 would decide to move to San Francisco, where they would eventually become a family of 7, having 3 more children: Corinne Lillian, George Hayes Ringgold, and Violet Eloise. In 1868, however, things would change due to an earthquake, and the family would therefore move back into the Whaley house. In 1882, both Violet and Anna Whaley were married. Anna actually wed her first cousin, but Violet actually found herself in a failed marriage that was completely doomed. It's actually said that he was a scam artist who had married her for ulterior motives. Violet found herself shunned by the public due to her failed marriage. I mean, times were very different back then. It's not like now where divorce is looked at as 2 equal parties splitting for the most part, and whether or not it's blamed on the female is just due to particular circumstances. Back then, to be a woman who was in a failed marriage and was without her husband was really frowned upon. Violet found herself broken, ashamed, embarrassed, and despite time passing and her divorce being finalized, she couldn't deal with the public shame. On August 18th, 1885, Violet would commit suicide by shooting herself in the heart. Now, this happened within the backyard of the home. Thomas Whaley would find her, bring her inside of the back of the home, and Violet would pass away within the home. After this tragic event, Thomas Whaley actually went off and built a single-story home for his family, and the Whaley house found itself empty yet again due to another horrible tragedy. On December 14th, 1890, Thomas Whaley would pass away from bad health. The Whaley house still remained completely empty and would actually fall into a very poor state until late 1909 when Francis Whaley made the decision to restore the Whaley house. Francis actually utilized the Whaley house as both a residency and a historical tourist attraction. The family would then reside in the home yet again, and in 1913, Anna Whaley would pass away. In 1914, Frances Whaley would pass away. In 1953, Corinne Lillian Whaley would pass away, all within the Whaley home. So this home is now a historical landmark and museum, which is said to be one of, if not the, most haunted place in America. You're actually able to take tours of the Whaley house, and so many people who have done so have had absolutely terrifying, chilling, or incredible paranormal experiences within the home. Members of the Whaley family are quite often seen throughout the home. Most commonly, the spirits of Thomas, Thomas Jr., and Violet are seen and heard throughout the home. It's actually said that a lot of people will hear both a baby's crying and a woman's crying, which would make sense because Thomas Jr. did pass away due to an illness in the home, and we all know what happened to Violet Whaley, which is so heartbreaking. The home is so haunted that it's actually said there's an area in the courtroom that's a vortex. And there's even said to be spirits of animals. Now, everybody's paranormal experiences differs as far as what they personally experience, and when giving tours of the Whaley house actually encourages individuals to take pictures within the home because they never know what's going to come up in them. And they actually have a section on their website where people have submitted their images that look as though there's spirits in them, which I'll have linked down in the description for you guys to check out. It's pretty interesting stuff. But one particular experience that I read up on was chilling, and that is one of a 911 call that was made to the sheriff's department, basically stating that there was a woman who would not stop crying outside or around the Whaley house. When the officer approached the home, he saw a woman near the backyard of the house crying hysterically. When he approached her and asked if she was okay, apparently she looked over at him and gave him like a grin, and when he went to put his flashlight on her, she had totally disappeared, which correlates with the fact that Violet Whaley had committed suicide in the back of the house. People have felt themselves being touched in the home, heard crying, heard stomping footsteps, actually seen Whaley family members. There's a lot of orb activity that occurs within the home, but overall it's said that there's a great deal of sadness present when you are within the home. I should note as well, there are a ton of spirits that people have seen that aren't recognizable as far as any family members or known individuals that have lived within the home. But like I said, the home was actually built on land that had its own history, so perhaps the spirits that people are seeing are those from even beyond the time of the Whaley family living there. Overall, I would most certainly like to visit the Whaley house and see if I could have an experience of my own. I've definitely put it on my list of places to go this year, which would be really exciting for me because I'm curious, now that I know the backstory, to kind of go in there and see, through empathizing with what the family went through and understanding the history of each room in the home itself, if I would have a personal paranormal experience there. I should note that this home would add and become many things throughout this time span as well. It was a general store, it at one point had a theater, and it even had courtrooms. And the courtroom of the house is where the vortex is said to be, so I can only imagine the type of activity that a place like the Whaley house would have. Overall, I think when so many people have passed away within a home, when a family has felt so much within those four walls, when a family has experienced so much pain and sorrow and despair, and it's on top of a land that also experienced traumatic experiences and sudden endings of life, it really doesn't surprise me that even if anything, there would be an incredible amount of residual energy. So the fact that there are spirits there mixing with this residual energy in a potential vortex, it wouldn't surprise me that the Whaley house could very well be the most haunted place in America. Well, you guys, that is my summary of the Whaley house and the spirits that inhabit it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Like I said, I've wanted to touch on this house for quite some time now, and I finally got around to doing it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Whaley house. Do you think that it's possible it is the #1 most haunted house in America? Or do you think that a couple others may give it a run for its money? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be reading through all of your theories, and that is it for today's video. If you guys are new to my channel, or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. I post a ton of videos, so I don't want you to miss when I upload. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. It makes my heart super happy when you guys do that, so please do that. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness, and until next time, I love you guys.